Welcome to the Business
Business
Temple
Temple.
Podcast. What up, Super Ray? How you doing?
What up, Super Alex? I am doing fine this weekend. It is Labor Day weekend. A lot of people
That's
are
right.
off. We're doing our thing here, but we don't take no days off because this is the Business Temple and we're here to help people become better entrepreneurs by learning philosophy and mixing it with business. And that's what's all about. That's what the Business Temple is all about. But Alex, let's play them in to get them started, get them hyped.
Yes, sir. Oh my gosh, we are doing this every single weekend. Like what Super Ray said, no excuses, even at the long weekend, Labor Day weekend. We hope y'all are having a great, awesome time. And before we even begin with the awesome topic that we got today, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, that like button, notification button over here on YouTube. We do this every single weekend, 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET. And not only that, we have a great topic for you today, and I think, oh my gosh, it's going to be great to talk about, and it's all about living in the moment.
Yes, it is called Ichigo Ichie, and this is all about mastering life and business. So I can't wait to talk to you about it. It is a Japanese philosophy that is very. I'm not sure many people know about it, but it is important to
Yeah.
understand because hey, a lot of our concepts, the newer concepts that we come up with, aren't actually very original at all. They come from ancient philosophers and people that understood the world a lot better than we can, to be honest.
Yes.
And I think it is important for us to get this thing going. All right, so I'm excited, Alex. So you want to kick things off? I could kick things off with a question, ask and letting you know, like, what's the simple question of what is Ichigo Ichie?
So Ichigo Ichie, like you mentioned, Super Ray, is a Japanese philosophy, and the way I think about that, as we were talking about it before the show, is two things. One, definitely YOLOing it up, living in that moment, and two is appreciating the moment, making
Ah,
it meaningful. And I think there are definitely two routes to go about that. And I'd like to break it down for all of you. I've got a bunch of stories when it comes to my personal stuff and business. But I Ichigo Chie for me at first really felt like YOLOing it up, and I'm not a super huge fan of that term actually. But then as you were reading it some more, it's when you talk about making meaningful connections, appreciating that moment. I think this is a philosophy that I can agree on.
awesome.
Where's your head at with that?
I mean, well, let's first start by talking about what Ichigo Ichie is and where they originate from.
Mhm.
Just the literal definition is it comes from the literal definition means one time, one meeting, but it could also be translated to one lifetime, one encounter, or even in this moment, this opportunity. How Eminem says, "You only get one."
Mhm.
And that did not miss a chance to blow. And oftentimes in this day and age, we have a culture that allows for receiving instant gratification. And when it comes to encounters and meetings, what do you think of those? And that's kind of like the question I want to pose to everybody here today as we get started with this philosophy. What do you think about those chance encounters? What do you think about those encounters that you have with people every single day that you might not even be thinking of or taking advantage of because, hey, guess what? This is a forethought. You're not in the present, you're in the future. You're thinking more along the lines of what ifs, the what ifs. And we don't in this concept in Ichigo Ichie, we're enjoying the moments. We're enjoying those encounters and then thinking about how that would play into the future. But Super
I
Alex,
would say I would say don't underestimate the impact of what certain moments have for you. And if you're aware all the time, you could be, for example, I'll give you a story. When we first met, Super Ray,
mhm,
in Toastmasters, never did I expect that I would meet you there, of course, and then we would develop this relationship, partnership that we got going on right now. And
friendship,
then
yeah.
it's just crazy, man, because you brought so much from New York to share with me. And in that moment, I would never expect that when
uh,
I met you.
Same here, brother.
I would never expect how meaningful that was.
I would say when I first met you, yes, it was through Zoom. You were in
Yep.
the Philippines, and
Hmm.
when I first heard you speak and you did a table topics, I was like, wow, this guy can really speak. I don't know what he's doing here at Toastmasters, given how great he is. Because when you first came on, you had this aura about yourself, and you already
I don't
working
even
with.
remember that.
I
Uh-huh.
remember it. You had this aura about you that really resonated with everybody at the meeting, given that you were already a pretty good orator at that point, and you were able to talk to and talk about the table topic as if it was nothing. You were really already at that certain level of public speaking because you already had confidence in yourself because you've already done some public speaking work at that time as well, and you already had a company that helped people with stress. So you were used to that kind of environment. And when you
Yeah.
came on, I'll never forget. You really killed it. You actually won table topics that day, the first time you came into Toastmasters. I remember
I
that very.
appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I mean, I haven't thought about that in a long time, but thinking about moments, personal and business, like I said earlier, don't underestimate the impact a certain moment can have on you. But then not only that, once you have awareness of the meaning of that moment, continue taking advantage of it, continue to make it more meaningful, follow through with that moment. Because, like, for example, when we met at Toastmasters, we followed through with our friendship.
Yeah,
We're still that was what, like, almost 3 years ago,
yeah, it
I would
was.
say.
I even remember
Yeah.
congratulating you and like, oh, that's awesome. You did a great job. And I think, yeah, and you just kept coming back, and then you made something of it, and you try to make more friends. And this is one
Make
thing
something
I
out of it.
want to tell
Yes.
people, that there's multiple ways of making connections. If you're not making them person to person, you can also reach out to people online. I know sales folks, they say doing like the art of cold calling to reach out to people, but that's one more person you're trying to reach and make a connection with, instead of having nobody or not doing anything. So I want to bring it back to the topic of Ichigo Ichie in a similar fashion when it comes to business. Is that you never really know who you're going to meet. You never really know
Yep.
who's going to come into your life. And much like in business, it's very important. I personally do have a story too with my business partner with that I work with in real estate. We actually started out as promoters here in New York City. We started promoting in all the clubs in New York, and
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's how we met. And he was a partner of another friend of mine who ran one of the largest promoting companies here in New York. And he actually was started out just renting one apartment here, one apartment there, and then he slowly grew until had his multi-million-dollar empire. And I've known him for 10 years, and I'll tell you, he's one of the hardest working people I've ever met. And even
Nice.
throughout all the chaos and all the noise, we were able to maintain that friendship. And one thing I also want to say is not just making that encounter, is also nurturing that encounter, nurturing that friendship. And if you meet somebody that is interesting, if you meet somebody that has that sort of drive, especially as an entrepreneur, you want to stick with those people. Just like us. I mean, Alex, we're batteries for one another. We energize each other.
We
We
are.
lift each other up. And that's what you want in your life. Some encounters may not just be beneficial for one person. It doesn't have to be. It could be a true partnership where both of you guys are benefiting from the relationship and bringing each other up.
I absolutely agree, man. And, like, I have tons of stories of how I've met the greatest people in my life, yourself included there, Super Ray. And it's just it's important to be aware in that moment. And I think as an entrepreneur, for me as an entrepreneur, I would say it's kind of difficult for me to do because I'm always thinking about something. I'm always thinking about the next deliverable, the next goal, the next deadline. And for me, I find it difficult sometimes to really be on the moment. And, like, actually, I think I learned it from you, Ray, where, I'm not sure if you recall, but one of the first times you met me, especially in Las Vegas, I think that was the first time you met me for my wedding, right? And I was on my phone all the time. Do you recall that?
Yeah,
I
I
was
think so.
on my
Yeah.
phone like all the time,
Mhm.
whether it was doom scrolling on social media, checking my work emails or anything like that. And I actually learned from you where, you know what, just get off your phone, man,
Put it
and
down.
just be present,
Yeah.
you know? And I had to learn Ichigo Chie, I guess now, really thinking about it. And I'm not sure if that's like a cultural thing in the Philippines because we're super active on social media. I'm not sure about how New Yorkers do it, but I actually had to learn to really shut off certain things so that I could appreciate the moment more. And that's one of the greatest lessons that I've really learned because like it's so good to not be obligated for anything and just
Yeah,
exist right here.
absolutely.
You
I
know,
mean,
that's amazing to me.
it's like I don't know if you saw the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's like that's what we want to be
No.
at all times when we have our phones next to us. Is that we want to be everything, everywhere, anyone, all at once, but we can't. We're human. The best time to be alive is now, and I think that's important when it comes to building relationship and building connections. And Ichie actually became popularized because of this Japanese tea tradition where they would sit down and have a tea, knowing that this encounter would never be the same once again, and they had these
Wow.
connections with one another in that room where they just interacted. They didn't have their phones back then. They didn't really were distracted by the outside world. That were making decisions and connections in that very moment. And I think that's a lot how like the top 1% of people they think. Of course, yes, they're everywhere and they're very busy people, but I'm sure they have their societies where they just come together
Yeah.
and figure out how they want the world to work or what they want their business to do. But when you even have a like think of it as like a brainstorming session or a business meeting, you shut everything off and you start piling on the ideas from people without having that sort of distraction, because all of that in the end of the day could be noise. Everything that you see on Instagram and social media and everything on there, even the news, the news cycle
Yeah.
that's never ending. Yeah, and people you end up doom scrolling. That's the term. It's all irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Those people that are writing those articles don't care about you. Those Instagram models that are posting their photos online don't
Don't
care about
care.
you. They
Hmm.
those politicians out there, they don't care about you. You need to understand that you're here now. Make the most of it. Create something, build your business, and forget about all the other noise that's out there.
I love how you just described that. Cancel out the noise, cancel out the distractions. That definitely sounds like being in the moment.
Yep.
Like you're just tunnel focus on this one thing, whatever that is. And I never really thought about when we talk about Ichigo Ichie or living in the moment, I never really thought about that as being able to increase your focus on something.
Mhm.
Like, man, we're breaking down a lot of layers in this philosophy that I'm not even super aware of, but that does make complete sense.
Mhm.
Because if you have one mission, one straight up mission, and you know what that is, that can definitely be considered as living in that moment where you don't care about anything else. You're not trying to prove anything else. You're just focused on that one thing,
Mhm.
whatever that thing may be.
Well,
And that's amazing.
Alex, question, a two-parter. How can you apply
Give it.
Ichie into your personal life, and how can you apply it into business?
I would say in my personal life, as I mentioned before, like take more screen time out of your life, whether that be on your laptop, desktop, or cell phone, and just really take in everything around you. Really appreciate the person you're sitting in front of. Really appreciate whatever it is that you're doing. Be fully immersed in it. And I think personally, there's so much to experience if you do that. Because like I'll meet some people and you could be talking to them and they could just be staring at their phone they're talking as you're talking to them. That's so weird. You know what I mean? It's just so distracting. And business wise, I would say you have to be a little bit more intentional when it comes to living in a moment, because as I mentioned before, you're always thinking about something. If you're an entrepreneur, you always have something on your mind. You always want to answer the email, even if that email pops up at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. at night. But I tell you this, business wise, keep just be in that moment in such a way where your mind is not divided.
Mm,
I'm
okay.
gonna go back to what you brought up earlier, which was focus.
Hmm.
And if there's a way that you as an entrepreneur to keep a way to keep your mind kind of like tunnel vision instead of divided focus where you're kind of multitasking your head, it's like in Google, you have 20 tabs open.
Hmm.
That's what it's like to be in your head if you're thinking about a bunch of stuff. So close out those tabs and just focus on one thing at a time. I think that's important for entrepreneurs. Just focus on one thing at a time. Stop multitasking. Just do it one thing at a time, and
So,
it'll work.
Alex, quick follow up to that then. Okay, so when you think
Hmm.
about goals, then the goals
Hmm.
are posts that you set for the future and things that do aren't necessarily for growth, trying to reach the goal and then setting new goals, but that's more forward thinking. How does that apply with Ichie? How do those two things either contradict or coincide?
I think they would coincide because I think part of Ichigo Ichie is appreciating coincidences. And so if you set a goal, then obviously that's the only thing you're thinking about. Whether okay, I want to make $25,000 this month. And so because you set that goal, the universe will move in certain ways to help you achieve that goal. And if you're living in that moment, it becomes the goal and that moment becomes congruent because then you are aware of all the serendipity that possibly you might have not noticed before. You know what I mean? And so it's like, for example, okay, I have the goal to make $25,000 this month. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing a lot of billboard signs with with the numbers 25,000.
Hmm.
All of a sudden I'm seeing 20 25 25 appearing anywhere and everywhere.
Hmm.
And I think when you are aware of those moments, it not only becomes a coincidence, it becomes meaning like you're going towards the right direction.
I see.
Does
Okay.
that make sense?
It makes sense to a degree, and I agree with you. They do
Hmm.
they don't they coincide. They actually are go hand in hand because I think living in the moment and having a goal are very useful things. Going back to like my promoting days, I had the intentional goal of telling myself that I want to build connections with the people that I'm working with and with the people that I'm providing a service to. So it was more so that I had the goal to make an actual connection. And to all the entrepreneurs out there, yes, live in the moment. Let's say if you go into a networking event, you want to
Yeah.
have fun, you want to enjoy, but always come in with a goal, as in, I want to create a network, I want to build a network. So therefore, I need to intentionally make sure that I remember this person's name, grab their contact information, and follow up with them, because that alone can really set you off for the next experience in your life. To make sure,
Wow,
understand
that
that
was good.
you're living in the present, but and
Hmm.
yes, it's a great moment, but you also need to understand that if you have a goal in mind, you're coming to this party or entertainment, time is precious. You're there to make, if you want to make a connection, you will find and make a connection, but you have to be intentional with what that is. And that's one of the common things that I see that a lot of entrepreneurs mistake, networking versus just having fun. They go in saying, okay, well, I'm in the present, I'm going to enjoy it, of course, yes,
Yeah.
but if you have the goal of trying to make a business connection, the chances are of making a business connection now increase, because now this is a goal that you have set in your mind. This is what you want to achieve. This is what you came here to do. And that's what a lot of like big time entrepreneurs, they don't spend their time going to these places. Think of the Met Gala. The Met Gala
Yeah.
is the pinnacle of actors and actresses coming together and showing off their dress. But at the same time, most of those actors and actresses, they don't go just because it's a fancy party where you could dress up and look nice. They go there so they can make a connection with other actors and actresses and potentially even get other gigs and parts for movies, because now they're talking through and say, hey, oh, I'm working on this role. Oh, can you
Yeah.
place me on that role? Can you contact the director, or you speak to the director directly? And then you get more roles, you get more acting gigs, etc., etc. So that's the opportunity that presents itself when you live in the present, when you become more involved, when you decide to take action and have a goal as to what you want to do in that present moment. So
I love that, bro. Absolutely. Goal setting shapes your moments. I
yeah,
think that's one of the
it's
best
the
ways to
book.
summarize exactly what you just said. Goal setting shapes your moments. And I would say goal setting is such a great add-on to living in the moment, because then your moments actually have direction. But that doesn't go to say that you I don't think it's necessary,
Mhm.
to have a goal. You could live in the moment, and just appreciate it. But definitely, if you do have a goal, that makes the moment absolutely more meaningful. And once again, you have direction. But then I would just like to point out that you don't have to actually have a goal, and you could just be in that moment.
Hmm.
Be in that moment. Be at peace in that moment, and just immerse in it.
Mm. Yeah.
When was the last time you have sat down in silence, whether that was your goal or not, and just be grateful. And I think that's one of the best ways to use moments, in gratitude,
Yes,
my
that is.
guy.
Uh, if we're stepping into the realm of gratitude, absolutely. This being present and silent in the moment and enjoying it, it's the ultimate form of appreciation and gratitude. Just sitting in silence is really great. I mean, I try to meditate, at least, I mean, less and less so nowadays because I'm busy, but 5 minutes,
It's
10 minutes
crazy.
a day, just to
Hmm.
clear my head. It's kind of like what you said with having all the tabs. The best way to close all those tabs is to just sit in silence for a minute and then take a breath and just get to it.
I love it, man. I love those moments wherein something really great happens, and then you kind of just like look up at the sky and be like, "Oh man, I'm so thankful that this is happening right now." You know those moments I'm talking about, man?
Well, absolutely. I could tell
I
you one moment
I
when
live for those.
where had to like just take a breath and decide whether or not I wanted to do this or not. It was when I went to this marketing event at a pier here in New York City, where
Yeah.
Fox was singing, and he was asking people to come on stage and sing with him in front of thousands of people. Surprisingly, nobody took him up on his offer, and I was in the front, and he was
Oh
asking
wow.
girls. They were saying, "No, no, I don't want to be on stage," because they were kind of scared to do so. I mean, you're going to be
Uh-huh.
singing in front of thousands of people, and I just decided, yeah, let me just try it. I went on the stage. I got on stage with Jamie Foxx and started singing Uptown Girl with him and dancing like a fool, because I didn't really know the
Dang.
lyrics to the words. Even though I didn't know the lyrics, even though I didn't know what was happening at the time, I took a breath and decided at that very moment to be present and say, hey, say yes to opportunities. I know that's another topic for saying yes to opportunities like that and taking advantage, because that's probably one of the biggest highlights all of my friends remember too, when I got on stage there and started singing with Jamie Foxx, which is
That's awesome, man.
awesome.
I didn't know about that story, right? That's freaking awesome. But
Yeah.
I love how you put it, say yes to opportunities. And I believe that is definitely a part of the Ichigo Ichie philosophy. And just being able to, in gratitude, get to say yes to those opportunities.
Mhm.
I think if you say yes to more awesome moments in life will give you more awesome moments. You know what I mean? It's just a cycle.
Yeah.
And I think you, as the sailor of your life, you directing your life, I feel like it would be a sin to not really be, accept these opportunities that life throws at you each moment, because it actually does.
Us-
And most of the time we're not aware of it. And I think by living in the moment, you become aware of all these great things that life actually has to offer.
Absolutely. I agree
You
with you.
know, and it's just amazing that way. You know, when I talk to you, Ray, like when we're in person, I I feel so in the moment all the time
Uh,
because with the thing that you taught me before, like you know what, get off your freaking phone, just and don't even put it on the table. I feel like I can get to know you so much more
Absolutely. And then
without the
when we went to the
distractions.
music festival, I mean, yeah, we took a couple of pictures here and there. It was fun. And for me, I take pictures because I want them for myself and like to for the memory
Hmm.
too. But most of the time, you won't see me in my phone. You'll see me either dancing, having fun, doing my thing. So
Yeah,
I really
man, you're
enjoy the
just
moment.
immersed in it.
Yeah, I I post a couple of stories here and there, but you would not see one photo of me Coachella on my Instagram or social media, and it's honestly in a way it's not really intentional because I would of course I would like for people to see what I'm doing and the type of person I am,
Hmm.
but at the same time it's just like these moments are for me. These moments are meant
Okay.
for that kind of yeah it's they're meant for me. They're not necessarily need to be everything needs to be shared. I do live a life of transparency, but if you get to know me, that's what you get. You'll get full on transparency. But as far as like moments being shared with one another, I don't necessarily think that it's there are moments that need to be shared with everybody in the world, like posting everything on social media.
Wow. I love that, bro. I'm glad we steered the conversation that way because what you just said is really good. Here's a curveball though, before we end the show. Let's both answer it. What's your greatest moment so far in
Okay,
life? So far.
my greatest
Think about
moment.
it. Uh-huh.
ah,
Can be personal, can be business. I'm sure you have a lot. Super right. But what's your greatest moment? Finest hour. I
I
remember I remember I'll start. I remember mine pretty vividly.
tell me.
And this happened 2018. I had just broken up with my ex-girlfriend and business was going so bad. I was not making money. I was getting money out of my savings. It was an all-around difficult time and very difficult to live in the moment because I was so worried about so many things. And at that time, I was working on a deal with a company that I wanted to get as a corporate account and really get a big break, you know? And so it took me a couple of weeks to do it, but my finest hour, my greatest moment personally and in my career was when I finally got that meeting with that corporate account I wanted to work with and I closed the contract. That was my first ever corporate account contract. I cried that day. Obviously not in front of the client, but as soon as the client walked out, well, I had my business partner next to me, and I just couldn't help but shed tears. Great, good tears, happy tears. But then it was one of those moments where it was just so emotional for me that everything I had worked for just turned into something.
Hmm.
And that really cemented the belief I had in myself that you know what, I did this and so I could do more in my career, do more for my business, for others. And so I think that was a very life defining moment for me because that gave me my confidence, and that
Wow,
was one of my best moments, man. I know it's very vague the way I explained it,
it's
but I
it's
just
not
want y'all
bad.
to know how I felt about it.
It it's a it really does like cement the fact that some of your greatest moments could be in a time of turmoil. It could be during a time
Yeah,
where
you're right, bro.
not
Absolutely right.
well or things are not going right in your life. It's really just shows the level of like let's say gratitude where you didn't give up. Everything wasn't going right, but eventually you were able to secure this big contract. And despite everything that was going on in your personal life and professional life, and I think that's where people either sink or swim in those
Yeah.
moments where things get tough, things get rough. and either you can choose to give up or you could choose to continue. And I mean,
That's right, man.
I immediately went into thinking as well in a similar sense where
Uh-huh.
very transparently, yeah, I've suffered with mental health. I had issues with myself in terms of my value, where I did try to commit suicide several times when I was younger because
Yeah.
of the parents, and then older when I was dealing with the stress that I didn't know how to handle. And I think that one of the greatest moments was actually waking up from that attempt
Wow.
and just realizing how
That's powerful.
crazy life is. And I I talk about it openly. I'm over it. I love to discuss it because people do suffer in silence. People do suffer in a way where they
Yeah.
think they want to just give up and end it all, but it doesn't have to be the end. You can find ways out of it, and you could do so safely without having to go to the extremes. And
Yeah.
from there, I just kept thinking like I wouldn't have moments like the moments I had during my 30th birthday, where I had so many people that just were there to celebrate me, and I personally never thought I would make it to 30. So that moment was really surprising, and then having like belly dancer there, having AP
Yeah.
there, having my friends there, having a
Uh-huh.
ice luge, having my girlfriend there, and just living a happy life, and then continuing that momentum into, like, for example, my 33rd birthday when you guys are here. And
Yep.
it was amazing that we had a nice dinner at Peak where everybody, like, everybody and their wives and their significant others were there, and I cried because it was just such a surreal moment for me, and it's something that I've never experienced. And if it wasn't if I wasn't here, I would have never be able to experience that. So that's, to me, is like, that was like an eye-opening experience for me. And then now that I'm older and living this life, I'm happier because of those moments I had. And I'm not regretful that I did the things I did, but grateful
Mhm.
that I'm still here to enjoy the things I've done.
Damn, Super Ray. Thank you for sharing that on air. That was I was not expecting that. That was such a personal thing for you to share. And it just goes to say, like, you know what, everybody, the moment can be our finest moment can be waking up or closing a contract, no matter how simple, complicated, or how big or small it is, whatever that means for you, keep on going for moments that take your breath away, that make you cry, that make you look up in the sky and be like, yo, thank you so much. This is happening. Live for those moments.
Absolutely.
And that's my reminder to everybody. I know y'all already know that. I know y'all are YOLOing it up over there, but hey, live for these moments. Live for these moments, and find people as well to live it with you. Like Ray and I was telling Ray earlier, like, you know what? When I'm around you, bro, I've never been more in the moment than with anyone else. So
That's
find
right.
those people as well, like to live in that moment with you and just revel in it. Immerse in that moment and just live life, man.
Absolutely.
Just live life.
Well, Alex, I think we could go ahead and
Yeah.
tell everybody.
It got a little personal. They're like, oh, I'm feeling all these emotions.
Make sure that those chance encounters, those meetings that you have with everyone, and just generally make a connection with people, whether they be online or offline. And I think that's also a good strategy for entrepreneurs, that reach out. There's no harm in, like, just cold calling people in a way and then just trying to make those connections. If you're an entrepreneur, it's okay if there's someone that's willing to talk to you. You never know if someone's needing that service if you don't reach somebody with that needs a service. Even when it comes to marketing, yes, we spend thousands of dollars on let's say exposure or impressions.
Yeah.
We might only get a couple of sales from that, but those one or two sales are what is going to snowball and impact into the grand scheme of things, where things are going to become much greater. So take a chance, go out there, live in the moment, live in your present. And if you need to get your shit done right now, turn off this video, get it done. But before you do so, make sure you like and subscribe to the Business Temple.
Yes, sir. We do this every single weekend, 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET. Oh my gosh. Have a great long weekend, everyone. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube, to our Instagram, all of our socials. If you want to hear us talk about a certain episode, our email is in the description below. And just reach out. And here's a reminder to live this weekend, everybody. Live this
Happy
weekend.
Labor Day. Happy Labor Day weekend. All
Happy
right.
Labor Day, yo. Peace.